Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, was at the Munich Conference, which is held on a yearly basis, primarily for the NATO people. He gave a speech there. Basically, he opened his speech with the words that the UK would always be on the side of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. Okay. Hard to disagree with those sentiments. Freedom, yeah. Democracy, yeah. Rule of law. The second thing that he stated was that and this is important, the security of our European continent will always be meaning the UK's overriding priority. Sorry, excuse me. I thought you were the Prime Minister of the UK. You're saying that the security of our European continent, Portugal, Spain, all the way up to Finland, Sweden, Ireland's not in there, so it can't be that. Yeah, Greece, Romania, Latvia. The security of our European continent will always be our overriding priority. That means the top priority. You can't realistically, you can only have one priority. But if it's in this generic term, overriding priority, that means it's the number one priority. He was elected by the Conservatives. He's an MP. He's elected by the Conservative Party, Tory Party, to be the leader, the Prime Minister. And his overriding priority is the security of our European continent. Not the defence of the realm, not the security of the UK, not the protection of the UK citizens. Now, I can understand it if you put it into the context that by defending Europe, you're also defending the UK. But I don't buy that. No, thank you. Take that back. Give me back the security of the UK, the defence of the realm is the overriding priority. And fine, we can help out with the security of our European continent, but not the other way around. Surely, come on, man. You're the PM of UK, you're not the PM of the European continent. We'll move on. He says, you know, we're giving the Ukrainians, it's terrible, the war is terrible. But we've been first in the queue to give the Ukrainians some cash and some armaments and stuff like that. So I want you all to clap when I tell you that. He says that last year Britain gave 2,300 million, that's 2.3 billion pounds to Ukraine. And he seemed well pleased that this would be exceeded in the current year, 2023. Okay, right. I thought when the Trustmeister got the elbow, you know, the Spanish Archer, I thought when she got the Spanish Archer treatment, that the overriding thing was the debt in the UK. And we're scrambling round for little bits of money here and little bits of money there. So 2.3, we're going to exceed that probably in the current year, 2023. And he seemed well pleased that we'll probably exceed it by a reasonable amount. So just let's say it doubles for argument. So we're talking about round about 5 or 6,000 million pounds. That's not a loan. That's a gift. That's £5,000 million. £5 billion makes it easier if you cut it down. That £5,000 million, the 5 billion, it's got to come from somewhere. We're in hock. The UK is in hock. Currently, it's 2.5 trillion. That's another 1,000 bigger than a billion. 2.5 heading north, possibly easing off. Maybe he's coming down, but who knows? So in the context of 2.5, 2.6 trillion, 2.3 billion, it's only 1,000th of that. So it's not that bad, really. What we'll give to Ukraine is only 1,000th of our national debt. So that can't be too bad. He says the only way to change what's going on in Ukraine, in the war between, border dispute, whatever you want to term it, choose which one you feel comfortable with. The only way to change and let's make it straight here, it's terrible what's going on in Ukraine. It's terrible. There's tens of thousands of people dead. There's countless others, their lives are being destroyed. There's millions of people refugeeing throughout Europe. The prime thing should be to try and stop this. But Rishi comes up with his method of stopping this, which is win. He says the only way that there isn't any alternatives. It's not a menu. It's not like when you go on Mackie D's, you know, you can get a chicken nuggets, or you can get a chicken sandwich, or you can get a Big Mac or a cheeseburger. There's no menu option here. It's just straight down. Only thing you can get is Big Mac. That's it. His Big Mac is the only way to change that is for Ukraine to win. And there was mild applause from the auditorium, which was nowhere near full. The problem in this is that Sunak and none of the other politicians, once they get past saying win, seems to have any context of what a win might mean. The context seems to be win is push them nasty Ruskies out of sovereign Ukraine, and normally they include Crimea to be part of that. So it's just win, that's it. You're either getting a Big Mac or that's it. It's win or nothing, win or bust. And because he's saying win or bust, he's saying that needs to be a military solution. And the military solution, you know, we've given them stuff, we've given them armaments, we've given them shells and howitzers, and we're giving them tanks now, and possibly we're training them for drive the old aeroplanes, and we've got the Marines across here, the Ukraine, and we're training the soldiers. And this is the only way for the win, the only way for you to get the Big Mac is to double down. That's it. There isn't any other options. That's the only option on offer, is double down, pedal to the metal, full out, double down. In he's encouraging all of the other countries to do the same. Give the Ukrainians as much military hardware and stuff, train them up, basically double down. At this juncture, no mention of any option with peace in it. No peace. Just win. Win, baby, win. Al Davies, the owner of the, at the time, Auckland Raiders, that was his expression. Just win, baby. The difference is here it's a war and there's people dying in it. When I suppose when you've seen the way that the Auckland Raiders played, you might have thought the same. But this is serious stuff. People are dying. All he's saying is win. Give them more weapons and win. He then goes on and postulates what Putin is thinking. What's this Uri Geller stuff? He says that, Putin is thinking this, Putin is thinking that. And you're going, how do you know this? Where's the proof that Putin thought this or Putin thought that? I can understand that you can say it. Putin did this or Putin asked for this to be done, but I can't understand where you're coming from with this. Oh, well, Putin thinks this. What? You're a mind reader now, as well as being the Prime Minister. And I'm just being a little bit hard on Sunak by saying that. But it's him that's saying that he can see, or he understands, he knows what Putin's thinking or thought before the invasion and in the invasion. So on part of this doubling down, bear in mind you're playing poker with someone that's got a loaded revolver. And you're backing one of the poker players and you're giving them the chips. You keep betting against this. The difference is if the poker game goes wrong, everybody suffers from this. But I see no one trying to dampen it down, trying to mediate, trying to slow things down, trying to search for a way out of this morass. He says we've decided to give them longer range weapons. Okay. And we're going to beef up, this is the UK, we're going to, because he's the Prime Minister of the UK. He's not the Prime Minister of the European continent, although the security of our European continent will always be our overriding priority. Come on, man. He's going to give longer range weapons and air defense to the Ukrainians to better defend them. Longer range weapons to better defend yourself with. By the sounds of it, and he wasn't specific in which longer range weapons, but bear in mind the weapons that they already have got reasonable distances on them, you would presume that Ukraine would be able to possibly launch these longer range weapon projectiles in places like Crimea and bring that into range, or possibly into Russia itself. It's bad enough that there's a war involving these two countries, Ukraine and Russia. It's bad enough that it's taking place at all. But it's contained within a comparatively small area of Europe, of Ukraine. You start giving people longer range weapons, it expands the area. What does that mean? Does that say to the Russians? You can use longer range weapons as well. What that might say to the Russians, and I can't read what anybody in Russia is thinking, but I would think that one of the things that they might think is that, well, if Ukraine's got longer range weapons, then we need to push the Ukrainians even further away from the Russian border. How does that stop this conflict? But Sunak hasn't said he wants to stop the conflict other than by getting the Big Mac, which is win. That's the only option. No peace if we can get this, or negotiate if we can do that, blah, blah. That's just win, 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 win. That's it. He then starts calling on the whole world. Bearing in mind that there's a large amount of the world so far has not taken part in the sanctions that Europe, the United States, and the UK are carrying out against Russia. And places like India, China, and a host of other countries, some of them in South America, haven't joined up to this. So basically you're saying the international world needs to come together with more sanctions. And we need to take Russia to the International Criminal Court. That resides in Den Haag, in The Hague, in the Netherlands. It's on the coast. It's a really nice place. What he fails to mention is that some of the people that are carrying out the sanctions, the countries, are not members of the ICC, the International Criminal Court. The UK is, perchance, as is most of Europe. But there's one notable exception. You can guess which one that is. And the president of that country is Joe Biden. Years ago, it did sign up, that's the United States of America, did sign up to the ICC. But it didn't like the thought of any of its troops being had up for war crimes or crimes against humanity. So it withdrew. And it's basically been sort of like perhaps, maybe's, you know, I'm thinking of joining, but I haven't joined yet, blah, blah, blah. It's signed, the United States has, it's signed agreements with lots of countries to preclude American servicemen being tried in the ICC. So perhaps Rishi should be on the blower to Biden, President Biden, suggesting that the United States joins the ICC if it wants to prosecute any country for war crimes. So,